Dreams. No, not the nonsense hallucinations of the unconscious mind. I'm talking about the awesome PlayStation video game dreams that allowed anyone to make anything. This is Dreams. This is also Dreams. This is Dreams. And this is Dreams as well. So what happened to this game? For many people this probably came and went, they saw a couple videos of it, then forgot about it, maybe remembered it by the time it became free on PlayStation Plus, and then promptly forgot about it again. See, this is a video that I feel obligated to make myself. Dreams is such a complex topic that I don't trust anyone to tell it with the proper nuance. Because I was there when Media Molecule launched Little Big Planet 2 and were at the top of their game. I was there during the initial years of silence. I was there when the first Dreams trailers and teasers started hitting. I was there for the many years and endless delays adding up to almost half a decade of waiting. Finally, I was there when the game launched into early access in 2019. From that April on, me and many others would spend literal thousands of hours creating hundreds of creations. I was addicted to Dreams, and I don't use that word lightly. For years I couldn't think about anything else, I couldn't play anything else, I just played Dreams. For all our efforts though, me, the communities and the developers themselves, Dreams only ever seemed to bleed players. It never turned into the mega hit we all hoped it would, and though Dreams is still very much alive, it probably never will. With this video I want to answer why. What went wrong? Could this have been avoided? But also crucially, and this is why I feel the need to make this video myself and not wait for someone outside of the community to do it, I want to talk about the victories of Dreams as well. Things can fail financially and still be good. Dreams is not popular, but it doesn't stop it from being, within its niche, the best game ever made by a long shot, and yes, I'm serious. Little Big Planet put Media Molecule on the map, big time. Just about everything about it is iconic. From of course the protagonist, Sackboy, to the 2.5D nature of the game, to even the voice acting and sound effects. Everything is iconic. If LBP is your childhood, all I have to do is this. To transport you back in time. Create mode. Little Big Planet's create mode. All other of this stuff is important to Little Big Planet's identity, but create mode is truly what launched it into a league of its own. Combine the physics systems with a plethora of tools and advanced logic, and the possibilities became endless. Little Big Planet didn't just allow you to build levels, it allowed you to build vehicles, contraptions, and well, if you were creative enough, you could make games that weren't even recognizable Little Big Planet anymore. Make games, share them online, players can play, creators create. Add on top of this the ability to both play and create with friends through online or local multiplayer, and it's easy to see how LBP could take off. Personally, I will never forget how much fun it was creating together with friends and building crazy vehicles to blow each other up or playing endless sessions of LBP2 basketball deep into the night at a sleepover. LBP was magic, man, and it once and for all established Media Molecule's goal as a company. Play, create, share. That's what you will experience buying an MM game. Now, a decade and a half later, we have 8 games featuring Sackboy. Of which only the original 2 LBPs were made exclusively by Media Molecule because MM, despite creating the most versatile create mode on console ever, dreamt way bigger. They were now cooking up Dreams. Now Dreams is such a next level idea compared to Little Big Planet, it's almost hard to explain. In LBP you have quite a bit of freedom. Limitless potential is what reviews would say, but MM was well aware of the limits. In LBP, we all relied on developer-created elements. Their textures, their music, their animations, their assets, their UI. In Dreams, MM wanted to truly lift all limits. Allow players to create anything and share anything that makes up a game, in real time on the PlayStation 4. Yes, create anything. You should be able to make music. So MM made the most crazy advanced music creation software inside Dreams, with a huge default instrument library that professional programs might ask literal hundreds of euros for. You should be able to edit sound effects. So MM made the most crazy audio editing software with anything and everything you could ask for. You should be able to create assets. And so Media Molecule figured out a completely novel way of rendering 3D objects, so players can sculpt them as if it's clay. You can have thousands of edits on a single asset, it doesn't matter. You can have minute fine-grained detail, you can make assets as big or small as you want. You can spam them 1,000 times, it all doesn't matter, it all runs great. The sculpting technology wasn't just a revolutionary solution to a technical problem of performance and a philosophical one of intuitive control over your output, it also played directly into the exact art style Media Molecule wanted for Dreams. This painterly, fluffy, concept art in 3D stuff that in normal game engines would be an absolute nightmare. Completely accidentally, Media Molecule made the graphics and lighting pipeline so great that even though the painterly art style was the goal, photorealism became possible as well. Players should be able to create gameplay as well, of course, and so Media Molecule created the most functional, crazy good logic system ever devised. Players should be able to create animations, so Media Molecule created the most intuitive animation system they could think of. Every single one of these things represents a challenge that would bring any studio to their knees, but Media Molecule, through sheer willpower and wild technical skill of its developers, did it all at the same time. And it gets even more insane. Not just did they make entire software suites essentially for every discipline and did they have them run smoother on a base PS4 than advanced PCs, they interconnected everything. To truly point out how awesome this is, I want you to understand how messed up PC game dev is. A game engine on PC functions really mostly as an assembler. It's where you make your game by importing every component and then combining and collaging them together. It's not the only program on your PC. You'll be creating assets in a different program, creating textures for those assets in yet another program. Music? Learn another program. Sound manipulation? Another program. This is already a huge barrier to entry in itself that Dreams eliminates. The need to spend 6 years learning 6 programs to become comfortable finally making your dream games. In Dreams, one can switch discipline on the spot without even a single dropped frame. I can be working on music and spot a wonky asset, next adjust some logic and immediately go back to music. There are no folders, separate windows, everything exists in this single 3D space and can be organized however you wish. Or not organized at all. Oops. What's truly cool about Dreams is that the one package philosophy means that the different art disciplines that normally would be separated can overlap. You can use music tools to drive the color of an asset. You can use the animation tools to animate logic or animate sound effects or animate animations for that matter. Logic can drive music, sound effects can drive animations. It's all connected, it's all intuitive. This all makes Dreams impossibly flexible. It's ridiculous. I'm not being even remotely hyperbolic when I say no player to this day has pushed Dreams to its limits. No one. We have run into some walls, sure, but fundamentally, believe me, as someone who has spent 4,000 hours creating, you can make 100% legit 10 out of 10 games in Dreams, and we have seen nothing yet in terms of what's really possible. Need more convincing of how sick Dreams is? Probably not, but I'll give it to you anyway. Because it's important to understand. Important to understand that this wasn't some artsy throwaway project, this was literally cutting edge tech of the future. It might take literal decades for software to rediscover what Dreams did in 2019 if we allow Dreams to be forgotten. So let's remind everyone what makes it special. Here's something you might not know. PlayStation restricts developers to 1 GB of save data. They are not allowed to go above that. This is usually a good thing because who wants the space on their console to be eaten up by just their progress save? For Media Molecule, this was yet another challenge to overcome. Everything the creators made had to be small. Also because in order to make playing creations instant, entire levels should download so fast you won't even think of it as a download. Dreams in general had to be up to PlayStation standards in terms of performance. So did Media Molecule finally collapse under the weight of their ambition? Well, of course not. Dreams is ridiculously well optimized. You can make entire games and their size will rarely exceed a couple megabytes. Media Molecule just had this philosophy of nothing should be getting in your way while creating. That's so refreshing. The result of their efforts, perhaps the most stable creation software I've ever used. In my 4,000 hours, Dreams has only crashed about 3 to 5 times. I'm telling you, go develop games on PC and just see how often software will freeze, crash, hitch, slow down, pop up error windows. Dreams doesn't even have errors, they don't exist. If a trigger zone looks for an object that doesn't exist anymore, whatever, the game will run. You can literally divide by 0 and the answer will just be 0. Want to plug vector data into the volume of an instrument? A color into a player jump height? A boolean into an integer into a float? Go ahead. And again, the stability. Oh, the stability. A while back I started creating Unity for a bit and followed a course. Take a look at this prototype game. It's 2D and consists of like 3 lines of code and a couple cubes. Look what happens when I want to test the game. 5 seconds of the entire PC grinding to a halt only for the game to load, hitching and freezing. Here's what it looks like to press the play button in a complex Dreams game. Play. Pause. Play. Pause. Move an asset. Play. Delete some logic. Pause. The only thing that takes time, actually testing the finished build of your game in Dreams, is dragging your cursor to the play button. Dreams is effortless. But only because Media Molecule spent years making it effortless. Effortless was a design requirement, a non-negotiable one, birthed from the limitations of being a PlayStation exclusive and the philosophies of the developers. Now look around you. How much software exactly has effortless as a design requirement? I can tell you right now, none. They are all preoccupied with being the best, adding all the bells and all the whistles, not caring how many drop-down menus and loading bars and crashes they put you through. My PS5 loads my entire game so quick I don't even think about it, while my 2024 PC that easily overpowers a PS5 takes 5 seconds to load a moving cube. For AAA development, you want the best software at the cost of convenience, possibly. But for the indies, the hobbyists, the passionates, you want an instrument. Software that understands that playfulness and immediacy stimulates creativity. Software that understands limitations won't stop creatives, it emboldens them. Dreams understood. PC programs go 100% of the way, but need 2,000 features to do so. Dreams get 75% of the way with just 20 of them. And remember, all the tools had to be figured out from scratch, because normal PS4 or PS5 controllers are the input devices. A PC keyboard has over 100 keys, a controller has just 15. Seems like a lost cause, but as it turns out, PlayStation controllers have an unexpected advantage. Analog control. Analog input devices are synonymous with expressiveness. Sure, you have 100 plus keys on PC, but they're all binary, on or off. You can't press them harder or softer to put expression into your work. The only analog control you have is the up, down, left, right of the mouse and the scroll wheel. On DualSense, the left stick is analog, the right stick is analog, the touchpad is analog, both the triggers are analog, and the gyro within the controller is analog. This realization is what birthed the unique Dreams control scheme, where the gyroscope gives you mouse-like precision control over the cursor on screen, while the sticks are used for navigation. On PC, you place assets in environments by slowly aligning them in the X, Y, and Z axis, one at a time, using the arrows on screen and furiously zooming in and out the whole time. In Dreams, you grab assets with R2 and just move them around in all the degrees of freedom at the same time. The softer you hold R2, the more sluggish the asset will act, allowing for more precise placement whenever you want. This analog control allows Dreams to be much more expressive. Game development is no longer a spreadsheet simulator, it feels like a dance between man and machine, as it should. I genuinely prefer making games with a controller now over mouse and keyboard. It just feels right. Then the last thing that makes Dreams special, anything creators make can be shared. Not just games like Little Big Planet, anything. You can upload assets, logic systems, templates, sound effect modifiers, color grades. There's literally no end to it. A finished, playable project called a dream doesn't even have to be a game either. With all the tools available, some made music, art pieces, animations, or a combination of all. The ability to share anything is one of the most important yet most overlooked reasons why Dreams work so well. If I want a helicopter in my game, I don't have to model one for 20 hours, and neither do I have to load a third-party website and pay $55 for a helicopter asset and go through the slow and often troubleshooting riddled path of downloading and importing and optimizing. In Dreams, I can effortlessly open the Element browser, search for helicopter, and just drag and drop any asset made by another creator instantly. I can then instantly edit it however I like, no loading, no hitching, nothing. I can then optimize the asset by simply pressing the Optimize button on it. This easy sharing is Dreams' biggest victory, because as awesome as all the tools are, game development simply requires so many different skills that even in Dreams, making everything on your own is out of the question. And so any creator will start to lean on others where they themselves fall short. Personally, sculpting was never something I had the patience for, so all my games relied for 95% on taking assets made by other players and kit bashing them and editing them together into something new. This whole ecosystem inspired collaboration. Programmers collaborated with musicians, modelers collaborated with animators, not for money, but for fun, to make some cool stuff and share it. Dreams is revolutionary. In every sense of the word, it shouldn't exist. The tech is revolutionary, the tools are revolutionary, the whole philosophy behind Dreams is revolutionary. So why did Dreams fail to become popular? Well, as it turns out, sometimes being revolutionary is not enough. This is the cold hard truth. Even with Dreams surpassing everything anyone could ever ask for, Dreams was not enough. They nailed the present, but didn't package it correctly. Because the creation tools were never going to be the make or break of Dreams. Truth is, in user-generated content games, 99% of players will never touch the creative tools in any significant way. And the players who will touch the creative tools are often motivated to do so, no matter how simple or complex the tools are. The creators were a given, the players just weren't. In other words, to everyone but the most hardcore, Dreams is not a game engine. It's a game to play. Counterintuitively, what needed the most thought poured into isn't the tools, but everything else. It's the UX, the onboarding, it's the progression and motivation systems. The main question should be, how can we get everyone who aren't creators to engage with and come back to Dreams day after day? This is where it went wrong. When Dreams launched, it did so with the best tech in the world, but the worst and least inviting user experience, mainly fueled by an underdeveloped UI and unfitting presentation. And let's talk about that presentation. Media Molecule is a capital A artsy company. They favor the weird, unconventional and whimsical. Their brand is also just not family friendly, it's kid friendly. Little Big Planet was fun for all ages, sure, but clearly aimed at capturing children's imagination. With Dreams, MM instinctively went down the same road, without perhaps truly considering if it was the right call this time. In Dreams, players can make anything. To put any presentational stamp on Dreams inevitably means to invalidate a portion of the potential creator base. And that's what they did, I'll get to that. But also the specific presentation they went for, and again very cutesy artsy one, made this game even harder to market, recommend, and get into than it was already going to be. Imagine a 17-year-old guy, fresh off playing God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2, spending most of his time playing Rainbow Six Siege with friends. And then you put this in front of him.
Dream crafters, assist us. Hello architect. Hello engineer.
Hello Queenie. Why are we squirrels?
The choice for this voice and tonal direction for your introduction to Dreams was not a good idea. Small distinction, but I think the reason why in LBP no one felt condescended by the charming narrator is because he was always addressing Sackboy, not you, the player. He was not speaking to you as if you were a child, he was speaking to Sackboy as if he were a child. LBP didn't feel self-serious, the narration had plenty of humor and was ridiculous in a tongue-in-cheek way.
You're quite safe from the big sleep in create mode, however.
Dreams has none of the ridiculousness, little of the humor, and laser beams its childish monologues straight onto you.
Oh no. You found the wall of doubt. Don't worry, everyone doubts themselves in the beginning.
To those of us familiar with Media Molecule, or those of us a bit more open to the artistic and child-friendly, we could brush this off. But to a lot of adult and teen gamers, this presentation came off as condescending, grating even. And yes, that's the audience this game should have targeted. Teenagers and adults. Dreams is complex as hell. It's as close as you can get to a real game engine. Kids mostly made things popular to other kids, while the higher quality projects were almost exclusively produced by serious, older creatives. And what these creatives made were of course going to be things that appealed to them. In Little Big Planet you could technically make a shooter or a horror game, but only if you kind of broke the game. Little Big Planet had a cutesy default that it was always going to try to get back to, and you had to actively fight it in order to make something different. Dreams has no default, it's nothing, it's a total empty canvas. Making a first-person shooter doesn't involve breaking dreams in any way, it involves using dreams in only intended ways. To make a game cute or artsy in Dreams requires actively pursuing that goal, it's not something you'll passively fall into. And so Dreams was logically dominated by broader appeal shooters, slashers and horror games. None of Dreams' presentation reflected that reality in the end. Here we were, many of us making genuinely serious games with a fluffy ball of yarn that could have just been a cursor. Had Dreams had a neutral presentation, our games would have fit right in, but instead the atmosphere around Dreams and Media Molecule made them feel out of place. This also plays into the onboarding. If you bought Dreams despite its whimsical appearance, chances were you were at least going to put a couple hours into it. But by the time Dreams became free on PlayStation Plus, the presentation aspect probably delivered its biggest blow. If you just wanted to open Dreams to play some user-created games quickly, you were instead met with an hour of slow tutorials with a condescending narrator. And by the time you were done, you would immediately meet Dreams' second big user experience problem, the UI. As sleek and functional as the creative tools are, so rough and confusing is the rest of the UI. Now hold on, in the original version of this video I went down the entire UI rabbit hole again, explaining every issue with it. I won't do that exactly, but I still think it's important to examine, because I think a better UI would have slowed the exodus of players significantly. So let's talk broad strokes. UI issue 1. It's very compact and claustrophobic. The streaming service inspired interface only allows room for a couple games on your screen at the same time, quickly tiring you out from browsing, stunting the desire to see what's next. UI issue 2. It doesn't spark excitement. From booting up Dreams it takes multiple steps and scrolling past multiple rows before you get to see some new games. In general, the UI was, and to this day is, way too comfortable with showing you the same games over and over. At the start, Media Molecule curated a couple Dreams games they considered good and pinned them to the top of the UI. Those couple games were there for like 6 months, not even kidding. For half a year and even beyond, the first games you'd be presented with when opening the browsing UI were games you either already played or were never interested in, immediately fueling disinterest to dive deeper. Envision a world where you open Dreams and with no submenus or anything, you immediately land on a homepage with a bunch of fresh games. No searching, no scrolling, just here's some cool new stuff, check it out. And it wasn't just the curated banners that forced the same popular games on everyone. Putting the trending Dreams category at the top, as was the case at launch if I recall, sounds like a good idea. Until you realize it's a kingmaker system where one thing snowballs into popularity because it's on top, people click on it because it's on top, and now it stays on top and never leaves again. The things dominating trending were usually just memes and crappy Sonic fan projects, which leaves a very bad impression on anyone opening up Dreams looking for quality. UI issue 3. Finding that quality was impossible for a long time. On the community end, the biggest rookie mistake you can make with a user-generated content platform is having an easily accessible most liked ever or most popular ever page. I was shocked to see that MM made that mistake again after we saw the result of such a thing multiple times in the LBP games. Most popular ever is trending on steroids. Something will be popular on the first day of release and never get out of the list again due to the list self-sustaining and keeping popular what's already popular. The worst part, this page wasn't just easily accessible, it was literally the first thing you landed on for a while. Dreams is half a decade old now, and the top most popular Dream was released in early access. This forever popular category shouldn't have existed in my opinion. Players checked out the top 10, probably weren't impressed much and moved on. Partly because they assumed they had seen the best of the best and found closure in that, but partly because they genuinely didn't have another metric of quality to search for. I think you're starting to get the picture here. The biggest failure of the UI is that it made Dreams seem way lamer and lower quality than it was. It didn't do justice to the amount of things releasing, it didn't do justice to the variety of things releasing, it certainly didn't do justice to the quality of things releasing. It formed a barrier between the players and what they wanted to play instead of guiding them towards it. A one-size-fits-all solution should never have been on the table, yet that's what we ended up with. Dreams has horror games, it has shooters, it has cutesy platformers and movies. And players who naturally are only interested in a small portion of that whole pie at a time. The UI should have been personal to every player, recommending that which they were most likely to play to prevent players from feeling like Dreams has nothing for them. And to prevent popularizing select groups of 10 games at a time while starving the rest of the creator base for players. This problem didn't even have to be solved algorithmically as you might assume I'm proposing here. YouTube back in the day had a garbage algorithm, but it still allowed people to personalize by putting focus on subscribing and notifications when videos went live. Dreams has those features, technically speaking, but because of the way the UI is designed, never truly encouraged this behavior. When Media Molecule finally took control over their homepage, way too late, they just made rotating curated lists of what they considered good creations. Which is of course a great way to seed animosity to the devs, and again, the lack of personalization meant that the majority of players would not be interested in the majority of things on the homepage. YouTube could put the best makeup tutorials in the world in front of you, but you will not click them if you're just interested in videos about game design. Oh, and if you are, subscribing to my small poor channel won't hurt. Had I been in charge, I'd have made it illegal for Dreams to ever show you something you've already played or seen on the homepage a second time. I'd have made sure the things that did show up aligned with your interest, and that I've put emphasis on creating your own, easily manageable and shareable library of favorite games and creators, so once you would find something great, you'd be able to keep it close to your chest. Important because I have played Dreams games and Dreams that I've never been able to find again, which is just as frustrating as seeing the same games over and over. Now, Dreams had the slickest user experience, where players were encouraged to come back day after day and week after week through progression systems, immediacy in the UI, ways for them to conveniently build up their own little game libraries and meaningfully share them. I really believe Dreams would have held out way longer. But instead, during that crucial early access period and the months after launch, Media Molecule spent most time focusing on creators, adding new features, working on a VR mode, etc. At the time, this did feel kind of logical. The idea was that the creators were going to attract players, and so the creators needed catering to most. But in hindsight, this was all a big mistake. The creators were already there after all, and they were starting to make some really cool stuff without any encouragement necessary. The only way creators were going to leave is, ironically, by lack of players experiencing their work. And so, as the player base dwindled, Dreams lost more and more creative talent along with it. Not all of this can be blamed on the UX, of course. Fixing it may have prevented the ship from sinking as fast, but there were other holes in the hull that were not going to be repaired easily. As earlier said, you can make absolute 10 out of 10 masterpieces in Dreams. The reality is, most Dreams games aren't that good. They aren't up to quality standards you'd expect from professionals, and the ones that are rarely longer than 15 to 30 minutes. Just the reality of game dev being hard no matter how good the program. The pencil is the easiest tool to use, but it still takes years to be able to draw anything you want. Dreams is more complex than a pencil. The result? Amateur games made by amateurs. What Dreams needed more than anything is stability for players. A player should have been able to open Dreams and be guaranteed of a good time. This was never the case. Dreams was always a slot machine of quality. Professional grade quality products weren't rare per se, but they were always going to be balanced out against a sea of rough demos. This naturally is only appealing to a small portion of the PlayStation player base. Open up any other game and you'll be guaranteed some baseline of fun that Dreams just never did. So does this mean the core idea behind Dreams is just not functional? I wouldn't go as far. Let's talk about, perhaps, the most controversial topic to ever exist in the Dreams community. Multiplayer. See, before launch, multiplayer was mentioned by the developers every once in a while. Sometimes optimistically, sometimes pessimistically, after a while never again. Skipping all the drama, though it was in the works and Dreams was built with multiplayer in mind, Media Molecule ran into too many roadblocks and it never materialized. Dreams ended up being a single player game, one where we're going to ask of players to keep returning to indefinitely into the future. With the current gaming landscape, it just doesn't work that way. Why would you play short, half-baked, low-quality experiences, lonely in your room, when all of your friends are out there playing Battlefield and having a good time? Dreams beats Roblox, VR chat, Minecraft all into the ground and dances on their graves when talking about technology, tools, the act of creating and sharing. But sadly, Dreams cannot hold a candle to the fun players have, socializing and cooperating and competing in online multiplayer in those games. Multiplayer is already known for being a nightmare to implement in game development, and that's for games that are entirely predictable. Now imagine doing it for Dreams. We wanted 12 player support, lobbies, matchmaking, VR support, a whole new UI, voice chat and netcode good enough to host competitive shooters. The ideal version of multiplayer in Dreams would have quite literally doubled the already overly ambitious scope of Dreams. Multiplayer is where finally, at long last, Media Molecule bit off more than they could chew. I don't even know if it's physically possible to add multiplayer in this way to Dreams. The underlying technology might simply just have reached its limits. But theoretically, if Media Molecule had gotten multiplayer to work in its ideal form, would it have saved Dreams from a pure player number standpoint? I say without a doubt, for two main reasons. One, every popular UGC game has multiplayer and is primarily played in multiplayer. Minecraft, Roblox, Gary's Mod, VR Chat, even Media Molecule's own Little Big Planet. It's a tried and tested combo, and I think it's obvious that had games like Roblox and Gary's Mod been single player only, they never would have taken off. Second reason why I believe in multiplayer is that a game being fun and addictive with friends is simply a lot lower bar to cross than a game being fun and addictive alone. Simple games can way more easily snowball into popularity. My go-to example, Bet. Give two players a bet and the objective to hit each other off a roof and they will instantly be engaged and laugh and trash talk and scream. Add more players and entire tournaments may come to exist, an entirely sub-community of Bet players. One day, a popular streamer might play Bet, introducing thousands of new players to Dreams. The creator of Bet might release their gameplay as a template, allowing others to make maps and add new game modes. A couple dumb, simple, but addictive games could keep thousands entertained for weeks, in between big single-player releases from popular creators. It took me on average like 4 months to make an hour-long game. If I had spent 4 months on a multiplayer game, it may have had enough depth to be played for dozens of hours. Single-player games simply do not snowball like multiplayer games. People play them, finish them, and then either quit altogether or sit around waiting for the next thing. There were never going to be enough quality games in Dreams to keep players okay with isolating themselves from their friends every day. With multiplayer, players would have been able to enter Dreams on the daily and be guaranteed of a fun experience as long as they knew one favorite game to return to. Even bad games would be fun to laugh at together with your friends. Single-player games would have been pushed to the background without a doubt, but the much more alive community would probably still have meant more eyes and ears for those experiences compared to now. Sounds pretty good, right? So why was multiplayer a controversial topic in the Dreams community? Because none of us ever agreed on the grander vision of Dreams, what Dreams is even supposed to be. I wanted a platform, a YouTube of games. I love this podcast interview from Corridor Digital where they interview Brandon from the old school YouTube channel Freddy W and later founder of the VR game studio Stress Level Zero. About halfway through, they talk about what made him leave the YouTube channel, just around the time they were starting to do bigger and more professional video productions. This was his answer.
I never really liked Hollywood. I didn't like coming out to LA. I didn't really like what I saw, and I kind of liked the way we did it in Minnesota better. And so I always kind of had like I don't know, kind of wanted to throw the finger to the man a little bit more, you know, like I don't want to join you. I don't want to sort of put, reinvent what you're doing. It's like I kind of want to like topple it a little bit, you know?
This is how I feel about Dreams. I didn't want it to lead to a job at a AAA studio where I'd be exploited and promptly fired to make imaginary lines go up. I didn't want to deal with publishers and marketing and stakeholders changing my vision. I think Dreams is better than the games industry. I wanted it to be a new, modern path for game creation, one focused on the creator. Like a YouTuber on YouTube aspires to be the best YouTuber and not a Hollywood filmmaker, a dreamer on Dreams would aspire to be the best dreamer, not to become a cog in the machine at Ubisoft. This might be a good time to address the comparisons to real game development as well. Ask anyone outside the Dreams community and they'll often say your time is better spent learning Unreal or Unity. They claim Dreams to be worthless without the ability to turn it into a career. I've made the exact upcoming argument many times before and I'm going to keep doing so every time I hear this. What did I get out of my hundreds of hours in GTA Online? Rainbow Six Siege, Rocket League. Nothing worth anything to anyone besides me. All games, even our favorite games, are just entertainment. They are enjoyable in the moment but don't push our lives forward in any meaningful way. Why do we suddenly put that expectation on Dreams? Why can't Dreams just be enjoyed for what it is? Just because it takes actual effort to make games in it? Well, guess what? It takes actual effort to get good at Rocket League. No one ever tells Rocket League players their time is better spent playing real football. Dreams remains the Rocket League of creative people. Every day we spent honing our skills, addicted by the tangible progression. We played it because it was fun and couldn't stop playing, the same reason why any of us play any games in the first place. The cool thing about Dreams compared to the more popular games out there though, is that your progression actually does matter to more than just you. We spent our time making real things that other real people got to enjoy. Over 100,000 players have experienced my games, art and music. I made people laugh, I made people angry, I made people excited. My gamertag meant something to people all over the planet. I've met people in real life that have played my games without realizing it was me. In what other game could I have made such an impact? Screw games, I wouldn't even have made this impact had I spent all my time learning Unreal and releasing my game on the overcrowded Steam. In Dreams, I learned actual game dev soft skills while having the time of my life creating an awesome portfolio while getting to share it all with thousands of enthusiasts around the world. Even if the servers were to die tomorrow, I still have my skills and nothing can take away the impact I made. In games, most of the time we spend is lost, nothing more than a memory. But in Dreams, every second is captured within the things you create. My creations are a physical manifestation of my time and are worth infinitely more to me than the time I spent blowing off steam in Battlefield 4. I hope that answers that bit. Now, I spoke very fondly of Dreams again here, because I'm talking from the creator's perspective. Remember, Dreams is fantastic and super addictive to creatives, but just isn't to most players. Successful platforms have to be engaging, consistently so, and Dreams just didn't clear the engagement threshold. I think that's what multiplayer would have helped solve. Not all share my vision of Dreams as a self-contained platform though. There's also a large group that sees Dreams as more of an engine. They wanted the ability to export assets to PC so Dreams could become a stepping stone to real game development. Don't underestimate how powerful a boost to PC game dev and a lot of jobs it is to be able to easily produce assets. Part of the engine crowd also yearned for monetization, so being able to sell your games, and for Dreams to be released on PC. The idea being that there's much more of an audience for game dev on PC. And who knows what modders would do, right? Now I know I just told you I don't like the attitude of Dreams being worthless without being able to turn it into a career, but that doesn't mean I consider the idea of turning Dreams into more of a tool an invalid one. Getting money involved with Dreams would have been very difficult, but had it been done, somehow and on PC, we would have seen the most insane game produced. Actually, let's talk about monetization a bit. Not gonna lie, of course I would have loved to make some money using Dreams. The most common idea for how was the ability to export and sell your games on the PlayStation Store. Sounds great, but let's think it through for a moment. First of all, pretty much everyone in Dreams uses elements from other Dreamers in their games. If I use someone else's character and then sell my game, should they get royalties from that? Or should they also be able to sell their assets? In which case Dreams would go real quick from the open community it is to a gatekeepy, my talent is worth too much to give out for free landscape. Maybe we should instead keep track of things used in your game. If even a single thing is made by someone else, you can't export it. Great. Who is going to buy your game? Seriously, as already established, most Dreams games are small and rough. They are made by amateurs after all. If we couldn't even get players to come back to Dreams to play our games for free, why would they pay for them? Even if a game were to be super high quality, it would still be hard to justify paying for it when the rest of Dreams is still free to enjoy. Your game wouldn't just have to be good for Dreams standards, it'd have to be so good it could compete with top indies and AAA games on the market for people's money and time. The only way monetization could have worked, in my opinion, is by taking a donation approach, like Twitch. Allow players to subscribe and donate to creators for a fee that Media Molecule takes a cut of, and figure out some way to reward them. But even this still would probably create a whole bunch of issues with grifters mass stealing others' creations to try to farm donations. Money, honestly, just doesn't have much of a place in this environment. Dreams works because it stimulates sharing and collaboration, not gatekeeping and competition. Now, as far as a PC port is concerned, I think Dreams would have been more popular on that platform, but I have a hard time imagining how much. Frustratingly enough, a PC port of Dreams was also actively worked on at some point, but got cancelled just like multiplayer. It's painful to think about now. What would have happened had Media Molecule put their foot down and chose a single vision for Dreams to pursue after launch? Instead, Dreams was just a complete rudderless ship. It was never clearly communicated what the future ambitions were. There were months of complete radio silence, only interrupted by the occasional update, and while Media Molecule did their best sustaining the live service with community events and active socials, it was all mainly targeted at creators, not at players. Dreams shrunk drastically and only stopped shrinking when just the diehards and addicts were left. Dreams didn't fizzle out because it wasn't good. The opposite is true. It's still the literal best, years ahead of its time. No, Dreams fizzled out because it didn't figure out what it was. As the years went by, nothing meaningful materialized, and even today, Media Molecule might still be divided on the inside. Sony allowed MM to burn money all this time, but of course it had to end eventually. Last year they finally pulled the plug on updates, leaving Dreams in now its final state and Media Molecule to make a different game. Understandable from a business standpoint, but I can only dream of what Media Molecule would have done with the sequel. From what I've gathered, Dreams development was chaos. But in the end they actually did it. Dreams as a tool is exactly as stable, expressive, fun and versatile as they dreamed up all those years ago. The issues Dreams does have then are not the result of incompetence, they're simply the result of technical debt and a stretched development cycle. The longer you spend on development, the more past decisions and unfinished systems start catching up with you. That's where sequels come in. Ever noticed game sequels are often better than the first game, but movie sequels are usually worse? It's because in movies, nothing about the first one can be transferred into the second. They need to figure out an entirely new story, connect it to the old one and somehow make it better. They have to pick up all the dice and re-roll them. In games, the identity of a given game usually only starts to materialize at the end when you're already stuck with decisions from 3 years ago. All a sequel then has to do is take the established identity and add or remove some gameplay bits to fuel that identity. If the first game is a blunt knife, the sequel doesn't have to make a new knife from scratch like a movie would, it just has to sharpen the old one. In other words, if Media Molecule had a chance at making Dreams 2 with the knowledge they have now, they would nail it. The hard part has been figured out, the tech exists and runs like a dream. Remember also that Dreams was a PS4 game and we now have a whole new generation of power to contend with. So, does this adequately wrap up the entire topic? Of course not. I still haven't talked about how Dreams compares to Little Big Planet, how LBP is much more playful in create mode, and about how Sackboy as a mascot pulled players towards it and Dreams had no such thing. I haven't talked about the marketing in general, how Media Molecule and Sony failed to capture people's attention by being vague and indirect about what Dreams is. I haven't talked about how VR support was fumbled with poor tool implementation. I haven't talked about how Dreams failed to support its curators, how people seeking out the best creations and compiling them into sprawling collections never got to be the solution to the UI problem. I haven't even talked about how the name Dreams was a complete disastrous decision, about how it made the game unsearchable online and would, and to this day does, result in instant miscommunication when you talk about it with someone. But I have to leave some of this for you in the comments to discuss, right? Dreams faced a death by 1,000 cuts really, but probably nothing that couldn't have been figured out with some heated discussions, harsh decisions and another few years of painstaking development. For now, I'm happy it still exists and people are still making stuff. There are right now still multiple great games in the works that I'm aware of. I'm also happy Media Molecule as a studio is still alive. I get they didn't pull in the money this time, but MM is not a studio to be underestimated. Their creativity and willingness to push boundaries against all odds gives them a very unique spot in the industry, and they honestly punch way above their weight. It's also a thing I didn't talk about this video, but Media Molecule made some games themselves in Dreams, and most of them were pretty great. Dreams itself may have failed the charm test in my opinion, but the games Media Molecule made within Dreams are genuinely as charming as anything they've ever done. The moment when I personally realized MM still got it is with All Hallows: The Land of Lost Dreams. There's a community aspect to this experience that I didn't really care for personally, but all original MM stuff just transported me right back in time to my first time experiencing Little Big Planet. The atmosphere, humor, art, the music, it's fantastic. And Tren, a beautiful toy train puzzle game, also has to be played to be believed. Within time, Media Molecule will produce something amazing again, I'm sure of it. I'm just sad it won't be Dreams 2. As for me, did I quit Dreams? Yes. But honestly kind of accidentally, as the end of Dreams Live service happened to coincide with a major life shift for me. I still have many ideas and I will get back to Dreams when I feel the itch again. Unreal Engine can wait for another while. Thank you for watching, I'll see you around.